The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. I'm Anselm, and at 46 I thought I had it all figured out. A comfortable life in Minneapolis, a job as a software architect that I enjoyed, and a wife, Imogen, whom I adored. We'd been married for 15 years, a seemingly solid partnership built on love, trust, and mutual respect. Or so I thought. The first crack in our perfect facade appeared subtly. Imogen, a talented graphic designer, started working late more frequently. A big project, she'd say, kissing me quickly before rushing out the door. I didn't suspect anything at first. Imogen was dedicated to her work and deadlines were deadlines. But then came the changes. She started paying more attention to her appearance, buying new clothes, experimenting with different hairstyles. She joined a gym and became obsessed with her diet. I noticed a new perfume, something floral and expensive that I hadn't bought her. When I complimented her, she brushed it off, saying it was just something she'd picked up on a whim. I tried to ignore the nagging feeling in my gut, the unease that settled in my chest whenever Imogen's phone buzzed with a text message. I told myself I was being paranoid, insecure. Imogen loved me. We had a good life together. Why would she risk that? One Friday evening, Imogen told me she had to work late again. A client emergency, she explained, her eyes darting away from mine. Don't wait up. I kissed her goodbye, a knot forming in my stomach. As soon as she left, I found myself unable to shake off the suspicion that had been gnawing at me for weeks. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist the urge to check her phone. It was password protected, of course. Imogen had never been one for privacy before, always leaving her phone unlocked around the house. This new level of secrecy only fueled my suspicions. I tried a few obvious passwords, our anniversary, our dog's name, but none of them worked. Frustrated and desperate, I decided to try something else. Imogen had always been terrible at remembering new passwords, often reusing old ones. I entered her childhood nickname, Immy, and to my shock, the phone unlocked. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrolled through her messages. Most of them were mundane texts from friends, work-related emails. But then I saw a name I didn't recognize. Eamon. The messages between Imogen and Eamon were filled with flirtatious banter, inside jokes, and suggestive comments. My blood ran cold as I read through them, the words blurring before my eyes. They had been seeing each other for months, meeting for lunches, drinks, and late-night design sessions. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as I stumbled into the bathroom, my hands shaking. I stared at myself in the mirror, my reflection a stranger staring back. How could this be happening? How could Imogen do this to me? I continued to scroll through the messages, each one a dagger twisting in my heart. They were planning a weekend getaway, a romantic escape to a secluded cabin in the woods. The messages were explicit, intimate, and filled with a longing that Imogen had never shown me. I felt like I was going to be sick. I couldn't breathe. The world seemed to spin around me, the walls closing in. I copied all the messages and photos onto my computer, a morbid need to document the betrayal, to prove to myself that it was real. Then, I deleted the messages from Imogen's phone, erasing any trace of my intrusion. I spent the rest of the night pacing the house, replaying the messages in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could I have been so blind? How could I have missed the signs? When Imogen finally came home around midnight, she found me sitting in the living room staring blankly at the TV. She looked tired but happy, her cheeks flushed, her eyes sparkling. Long night, I asked, my voice flat. Yeah, she said, yawning. The client was being really demanding, but it's finally done. She came over and kissed me on the cheek, but I recoiled, unable to bear her touch. What's wrong? She asked, a flicker of concern in her eyes. I know, I said, my voice trembling. I know about Eamon. Her face paled, her eyes widening in panic. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. I read your messages, I continued, my voice rising. I know about the lunches, the drinks, the late-night design sessions. I know about the weekend getaway. Tears welled up in her eyes as she sank to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Anselm, I'm so sorry, she cried. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. How could you? I asked, my voice laced with pain and anger. How could you do this to me, to us? She didn't have an answer. She just sat there, crying, her body shaking with sobs. I spent the next few days in a daze, barely eating or sleeping. I called in sick to work, unable to face anyone. I replayed the conversation with Imogen over and over in my head, trying to understand what had gone wrong. She told me that she had been feeling neglected, that I had been too focused on my work and not enough on her. She said that Eamon had made her feel seen, appreciated, and desired. I listened to her excuses, her justifications, but none of them made sense. I had always tried to be a good husband, a supportive partner. I had worked hard to provide for our family, to give her everything she wanted. How could she throw it all away for a fleeting affair? I knew that I couldn't stay with her. The trust was broken, the foundation of our marriage shattered beyond repair. I told her that I wanted a divorce, that I couldn't forgive her. She begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to go to therapy, to do whatever it took to save our marriage. But I was adamant. I couldn't live with the knowledge that she had betrayed me, that she had lied to me, that she had given her heart to someone else. The divorce was messy and painful. We fought over everything: the house, the car, the furniture. Imogen accused me of being vindictive, of trying to punish her. I accused her of being selfish, of destroying our life together. In the end, we reached a settlement. I kept the house and she moved into a small apartment downtown. We divided our assets and we agreed to stay out of each other's lives. I tried to move on, to rebuild my life. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office trying to forget about Imogen. I started going to the gym, trying to get back in shape. I even tried dating, but I couldn't bring myself to trust anyone. The scars of Imogen's betrayal ran deep, making it impossible for me to open my heart to someone new. One day, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, a sense of foreboding washing over me. "Hello," I said, my voice tentative. "Anselm, it's Eamon," the voice on the other end said. "I need to talk to you." My blood ran cold. I wanted to hang up, to slam the phone down and pretend that this wasn't happening. But curiosity and a morbid sense of fascination kept me rooted to the spot. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice tight. "I know this is going to sound strange, but I need your help," Eamon said. "Imogen is in trouble," I scoffed. "Why would I help her? She's the one who destroyed my life." "It's not like that," Eamon said. "She's been diagnosed with a serious illness. She needs treatment, but she doesn't have the money. I can't help her and she has no one else to turn to." I was stunned into silence. Imogen sick? It didn't seem possible. She had always been so vibrant, so full of life. "What's wrong with her?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "It's cancer," Eamon said. Aggressive and fast-spreading, I didn't know what to say. I felt a strange mix of emotions: shock, sadness, and a flicker of pity. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Why not her family? She doesn't want them to know," Eamon said. "She's ashamed. She doesn't want them to see her like this." I thought about Imogen, alone and sick, with no one to turn to. Despite everything she had done, I couldn't bear the thought of her suffering. "What kind of treatment does she need?" I asked. Eamon explained that Imogen needed a specialized therapy that was only available in another state. The treatment was expensive and she didn't have the insurance coverage to pay for it. I hesitated. I didn't owe Imogen anything. She had betrayed me, destroyed our marriage, and left me with nothing but heartache. Why should I help her now? But then I thought about the woman I had loved, the woman I had shared my life with for 15 years. I thought about her laughter, her smile, her warmth. I couldn't just stand by and watch her die. "I'll help her," I said, my voice firm. "But I want to see her first." Eamon arranged for me to meet Imogen at her apartment. When I arrived, I was shocked by her appearance. She had lost weight, her skin was pale, and her eyes were dull. She looked like a shadow of her former self. "Anselm," she said, her voice weak. "Thank you for coming." I sat down beside her on the couch, taking her hand in mine. Her hand was cold and frail, so different from the strong, vibrant hand I remembered. "I'm so sorry, Anselm," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve your help." "Don't talk like that," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "We'll get you through this." I spent the next few months helping Imogen get the treatment she needed. I paid for her travel expenses, her medical bills, and her living expenses. I visited her regularly, offering her support and encouragement. It wasn't easy. There were times when I resented her, when I felt like I was being taken advantage of. But then I would look into her eyes, see the fear and the pain, and I knew that I was doing the right thing. Slowly but surely, Imogen started to improve. The treatment was working and she was regaining her strength. She started to smile again, to laugh again, to be the woman I had once loved. One day, as I was sitting with her in her apartment, she turned to me and said, "Anselm, I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life. You don't have to thank me," I said. "I did it because I care about you." She reached out and took my hand, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I'll never forget what you've done for me," she said. "I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you." I knew that we could never go back to the way things were. The trust was gone, the love tarnished. But I had found a way to forgive her, to let go of the anger and the resentment. And in doing so, I had found a sense of peace, a sense of closure. Imogen eventually recovered from her illness and moved back to Minneapolis. We didn't rekindle our relationship, but we remained friends. We would occasionally meet for coffee, sharing stories about our lives. I even met someone new, a kind and compassionate woman named Miriam, who helped me to heal and to open my heart again. Looking back on that dark chapter of my life, I realized that betrayal can be a catalyst for growth, a painful but necessary step on the path to healing and forgiveness. It taught me the importance of compassion, the power of resilience, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And in the end, I learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is to forgive the unforgivable.